In this video, we're going to learn about circuit diagrams and how you can use them to make circuits. This is the 5th video out of 10 for people beginning their journey with the JackBord Basic Top. For this video, you're going to need a JackBord Basic Top, some female to female jumper wires, USB-C cable, a PC or a Chromebook. A circuit diagram is just in many ways like a map, because it basically shows how things are connected. So if you look at this map here, you've got these roads in grey, and then you've got all of these places that are connected to these roads, and you've got little side roads here. And again with the circuit, so you've got the wires, which are equivalent to the roads, and then the components, which are equivalent to buildings. And so the components are connected by wires, just like buildings are connected together by roads. And as you go through, you have to have a continuous path. On a map in a street, generally a dead end is not a good thing. You have to have a continuous way of driving, and that's the same for a circuit. The current needs a continuous path. So a circuit diagram tells you how the different parts of a circuit, or the components, are connected together. Just like with a normal map, there are lots of different symbols that you have on a circuit diagram. And the first set of symbols we're going to look at are the ones that involve connections, because obviously without connections you can't have a circuit. So the first thing we have is a pin, which is where you can plug in a jumper wire, and that's represented by a circle that's filled in. The second symbol is this one, which is a jumper wire, and that indicates a wire that can be plugged into a pin. This symbol here shows a jumper wire, which is this one, that's been plugged into a pin, or is supposed to be plugged into a pin. And then when you look at components, you can see that they have round dots on either end, and these are the pins where you can plug in the jumper wires. So these are the connection symbols that you'll see in a circuit diagram. So looking at the JackBord Top, the first thing you'll notice is that it's covered in lots of spiky pins. And these are those symbols in the previous page with the dots on the end, and they represent pins. And then the other symbol was the jumper wire symbol. So these are jumper wires, and they're basically a wire, a copper wire that has a female connector on either end. So in the circuit diagram, when it says you need to plug in this jumper wire into 3-volt supply, you find the 3-volt pin and you just plug them in like that. So literally the symbol that showed a jumper wire connected to a pin means the jumper wire is plugged into a pin on the JackBord Top. So essentially you have pins, which are where all your components are, or your power supplies, and then jumper wires, some long, some short, and you plug the jumper wires into the pins that are required for the particular circuit. So the next set of symbols that we need to look at are those for the electronic components. So these are things like resistors, diodes, transistors, capacitors, etc. that make up a circuit. And the first thing to notice about all of these is that they have round dots on either end. And these are where the pins are that you will use to connect the jumper wires to. So we have the resistor symbol, which is this one. This is the light dependent resistor, which is a resistor symbol with some arrows pointing towards it because the light comes into it, as opposed to the LED symbol, which is an LED that emits light, so the arrows point away from it. Then you've got capacitors, diode, LED diode. This is a transistor, and these are different types of switch. So a normal switch and then a button switch. So circuit symbols for components are like this, as opposed to the connection symbols that we looked at just previously. Now if we look at this version of the JackBord Basic Top, the first thing you can see are all the pins, and these are where the jump wires get connected to. But the other thing to look at is that each pin has a number next to it. So for example, on the 1K resistors we have the number 1, pin 1, and then the number 2, and that's pin 2, and then 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and so on. And likewise if we go with the LEDs, we've got the red LED here, red pin, and then the ground pin for that LED. And the diode, we have the plus side, which is pins 1 and 2, and the negative side, which is pins 3 and 4. So just looking at the different components we saw earlier on, this is the transistor. So you notice it's got the circle with the wee arrow in it. Resistors. Now these have a squiggly line to represent them, but you can also use the square symbol, or rather the rectangle symbol, so either one is fine. And likewise capacitors with the 2 plates, and then you have the diode and the LED diode. Remember, it's got the 2 arrows pointing outwards. And then the light dependent resistor is a resistor with 2 arrows pointing inwards. So essentially, when you look at a circuit diagram, the real thing that it's referring to is this. You have the different components, you have their pins, and then you use the jumper wires to make connections between specific pins to make up a circuit. So finally, we're going to have a look at a slightly more complex circuit. And we're going to begin to look at things like the numbers on the pins. So this is the previous LED circuit, and we've just added a button to it so we can turn the LED on and off. And we'll make this circuit in the next video. But in terms of the circuit diagram, we have 3 volts coming in to a jumper wire. Then the other end of the jumper wire goes into pin 1 of button 1. And on this side we have pin 2 of button 1. And we connect a jumper wire to that pin. And then we connect the other end of that jumper wire to pin 1 of a 1K resistor. Then we come down, we connect another jumper wire to pin 2 of that same 1K resistor. And then the other end of that jumper wire goes to the red LED. And then the ground of the red LED gets a jumper which connects it to the ground, which is the big G on the JackBord top. And notice first of all it's a continuous path. And secondly, where you need to connect a jumper wire to a specific pin, the number of that pin or the name of that pin is given in the circuit diagram. In the next video, we're going to add a switch to the simple LED circuit so we can turn the LED on and off at will. In the meantime, have a play with your JackBord Basic and the JackBord Basic Top and get used to using the jumper wires. If you want to jump straight to the next video, simply visit jb.works and search the TMT code shown on the screen. For more information and to get help, visit jb.works.